Senator Henry.
Thank you very much, Madam President. And may I grant leave to also thank you for your, well, your greetings and wishing us season greetings, so to speak, but also extend my voice and add to yours to wish everyone here the same, as well as the people in St. Lucia and those persons in the Castro Southwest, my family and friends, my children, wish them well for the upcoming year. Madam President, just permit me also to say to those young persons at this time who may want to contemplate resolving their problems in violent ways, that it is time for them for us to consider other means of resolving problems as against a violent way and keeping our time at this time of the year peaceful. So I'm encouraging everyone, our young people, to be peaceful. Let us use other means of solving our problems. Crime is not the way. We should seek peaceful means of resolving our problems. Madam President, as I listen to the presentation by the leader of government business, I am not one who like to credit, nor chastise, but I've heard better in time past. And for a moment, I thought his presentation seemed more like what I would have heard in the market, not in the market step, but in the boulevard, the place where people do the politicking. Madam President, let me state for the record that the St. Lucia Labour Party support and initiated work on the redevelopment of the Hewanorra International Airport. It's important that we state this. Very important. But I will proceed with my presentation, lest I be distracted by you persons over here. At the debate of the lower house, Madam President, and he alluded to it here, there's one statement that lingered with me, is when a member indicated that it's all about cash flow. Once you can loan monies, once you can pay, you can borrow. Cash flow. And I heard it here again, making the justification for borrowing 100 million US dollars. Depuis où ça paye, on y justifie pour prêter l'argent là. Madam President, I would make this point here because it's a point that needs to, that every St. Lucian who probably contemplating building their home, buying a car, buying an equipment, investing their monies, they should understand that not everything or anything you can buy means that you should own it. And not everything that you own means that you should operate it. Your ability to own something is not the same ability that is required to operate it. And I will speak to this a little more as I proceed. Sable di la ni moun yo ni bako ek se pa yo ki ka opowe. An moun ka opowe ba yo paske yo même pas sa opowe. La ni moun pitet ki ni hotel ek se pa yo ki ka kouyi hotel la lot moun ka kouyi. We all understand that borrowing becomes necessary at times. And one would expect a government to be responsible, judicious with the business of borrowing, Madam President. Also, a government must be mature enough upon taking office to continue with activities of a former administration. Maturity is important. And I will explain why I'm making this point, Madam President. Responsibility, maturity, being cautious is important in governance as against irresponsibility, childishness, and recklessness. But what is this government? What has this government given up that was beneficial to the people of St. Lucia that we speak of? What exactly is it is? Madam President, as the member on this side well described, it was the Public Partner Partnership, a PPP, arrangement for the Hewanorra International Airport. It was negotiated through the IFC with the World Bank. But what exactly is a PPP? What exactly is a public-private partnership? What exactly is this, Madam President? But more importantly, while St. Lucians may have heard the term PPP all over the past through the debate, and I think it has been mentioned over and over in this house, last week, the term PPP was featured in the regional news. Barbados is moving. Well, I thought, instead of postulating about the former Prime Minister and all of the, you would have enlightened St. Lucians and make a case about the development of Hewanorra International Airport. So I'm forcing you now to discuss it, whereas you had an opportunity to come. That's all I'll do over here, you know, is to rebut. But you do not have a prepared presentation on the Hewanorra International Airport. Zot ka just wepon sa moun di me zot men bani pièce information pour bay moun. Avec zot tout ni pour rebut. All of you, that's what you'll do, rebut. But let me go on. Let me stay focused. So, Madam President, and for most of us in St. Lucia, you know, Barbados seemed to be a very good model at times. And of course, I know St. Lucia like to reference Barbados. They like to reference other countries. But I will speak more. There's more countries than Barbados who have embarked on PPPs. More. And I'll tell you, the approach that you are suggesting is the one that Trinidad did with the Piaco Airport. There lies the $1.6 billion, 11 point something billion dollars investigation into the Piaco corrupt practice of the airport. But let's wait. Madam President, why a PPP? And this is what, according to Dr. Anthony Murner and Douglas Lamb, professionals from the United Kingdom, highlighted. A PPP allows for the delivery of services to be transferred from the responsibility of the public sector to private operators over a specified contract life. It has at its core the need of public sector accountability with private sector discipline, expertise, and efficiency. The traditional approach, Madam President. Madam President, and I'll beg your indulgence so that I can continue to make my presentation.
Senator Henry, I need to hear Senator Henry's contribution. Can we please keep it below the radar?
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, governments in the past have been using what they call the FBMO approach. Simple. They finance, they build, they maintain, they operate. They finance, they seek the money, they build it, they maintain it, and they operate it. Dr. Murner and Douglas Lamb, through a thorough and years of analysis in the United Kingdom, have put all of these functions into perspective and analyzed them and value to what extent is the public sector having success along those lines. And Madam President, Dr. Mona and Lam highlighted a few significant projects in their research. They highlighted Wood Hill Prison. It went 3 months late. The public sector in the United Kingdom was doing it. 3 months late, 30% above budget. The Trident submarine shift lift on both Fastlane in Scotland. It went for 2 years plus, but 214% increase. The Humber Bridge went up by 55% increase. The National Air Traffic Control.
Madam President, point of order here. The member is reading from a document and we don't have a copy of it. Could you make it a copy of the document of the House, please?
You don't need to have a copy. I'll proceed, Madam President.
Senator Henry, if you're going to rely substantially on the document, you need to make it a document of the House. If it's a passing or fleeting reference, that's a different case. Would you let me know which one it's going to be?
Thank you, Madam. I'm not reading from it. It's just a passing reference to some information that I think is important. And afterwards, I can always, Madam President, just leave the entire textbook here. Public finance and the guide to value and risk management in PPP projects.
Senator Henry, that's not how we do it. We don't leave an entire text. We make it a document of the House if you want to do that, and it's copied and distributed to all members.
Madam, we want to adjourn and send out a copy and then I can come back?
Are you saying it's not a substantial part of it?
It's not a substantial part.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. So, Madam President, I've highlighted a number of significant projects in the United Kingdom, highlighted by Dr. Douglas Lam and Dr. Mona, in stating why that led growth to public-private partnerships. And Madam President, in 2000, it became a worldwide approach. And there were PPPs in Denmark, Canada, Finland, France, Indonesia, Poland, Portugal, Spain, Sweden, the United States, in Trinidad, and in Barbados. PPP became a worldwide approach in procurement. Worldwide approach. So,
Please continue, Senator Henry.
thank you, Madam President. So, Madam President, highlighting these issues, you would understand from just a technological analysis of the procurement of government business, of the procurement of government services, why one would opt for a PPP. A PPP that would link at its core the discipline of the private sector, the expertise of the private sector, and efficiencies of the private sector into the need of accountability in the public sector. The traditional approach of doing these things have led to what we currently dealing with on St. Jude and a number of public sector projects. Of course, you understand. Of course, if you want to mention, there are some projects that you need to implement, as a public sector, but there are risks associated with the public sector implementing projects. There are risks. And you have not highlighted that a risk analysis was conducted. You only spoke of or mentioned of financial risk, but there's more to it. There's more to it. So what is at its core, Madam President, is that the Labour Party advanced a safe approach in dealing with Hewanorra International Airport. We do not have the expertise in-house to design the airport. We do not have the expertise to design the airport. So we're looking for persons. This is what you said. This is what you've done. Because in the lower house you say, I heard, it is the same. But I heard the Prime Minister made pronouncement about his building the terminal on the other side on the western side. Madam President, some of the pronouncement I heard as a technical person, I was concerned. Because during the Christmas trough, my vehicle was parked in the parking lot and it got flooded with silt way up at the seat level. And I'm saying that anybody who is going to undertake development of the Hewanorra International Airport at this time must consider quite a bit. And I would have expected, I anticipated that listening to the debate at the lower house, that this side of the government side would come with information to share with the public as to what are the considerations for the direction that they're taking. But like he said, it's Christmas. Like he said, it's Christmas. And because it's Christmas, it's an opportune time to déglaser, be di moun n'importe sa ou kwe, yo kay kopon, la ou ka pote, yon $100 million Americhe. C'est yon mot parole qui sorti à sous façade, gouvernement en opposition, qui a éclairé bon matin, Jabasak. This is what it is. So people are in a state of drunkenness, that's what you believe, and you could come to this into this honorable house and just lay it. Madam President, there's risk in owning buildings. There's risk in owning capacities. Did you consider hurricanes and earthquakes when you think of we in the next few years with climate change owning or not having an opportunity to get somebody to operate the airport in that period? Insurance, yes. Do you consider the risk? Do you consider all of the risk associated currently, even with LIBOR? You suggest it's going to be 1.2%? What about the other needs that we have in this country that are not being served? Would you, as a Prime Minister, choose to own your airport and rent a hospital? Would you prefer to privatize your hospital and not your airport? Because we cannot proceed with the hospital. There was talk about privatization of the hospital, but you are inflamed and talking about we would give our airport for 40 years, give away the airport for 40 years. But you are misrepresenting your true emotions because you are prepared to privatize your hospital. So there's something fake about this side. And how in one way you feel comfortable arguing about privatization of the hospital, but you're so emotional about giving away an airport for a PP. What? Oh, PPP? What you doing? PPP? I don't think you understand the P's. I do not think so. I do not think so. But we ask, had there been maturity, or one would expect that there is maturity on this side, they would be able to continue with an initiative that has benefits for the people. Of course, hospitals and airports and major roads and dams will always be projects that will be implemented through subsequent administrations, Madam President. I don't care how much we boast about how much the people will love us. There are things that you would start, but you would not complete. And there are things the Labour Party will start, but they will not complete. Somebody else, another administration would have to complete it. And this is a reality of even our homes, Madam President. We build homes, we start homes, and our children sometimes need to inherit and complete it. Because these things, like the member said, that 25 years is a long time for a building, an airport. 25 years. Madam President, the lifetime of buildings in the United Kingdom are hundreds and hundreds of years. But the member of government business see 25 years as a very long time. It is 25 years ago they did work on the airport, so it's time now. And the people of the South, stop baiting the people of the South. If you are concerned about the people of the South, you would have completed the hospital in the South. If you are concerned about the people of the South, they would not have been in the stadium. That is what. Don't play politics with serious issues. You are coming to borrow at this point in time, and the fact that you believe in the growth that is pronouncement, you believe that once there's growth, borrowing is okay. That is what you believe. Or so you have been advised. You should tell the people that. Pas venir ici à parler, mocho bagay, considérer ou quoi c'est bail là, moi-même ça vous pas croire. You don't believe what you're saying. You don't believe what you're saying. You understand? Les autres, just confuse me like. Même pas regarder les autres. Les autres, by black vers autres nuances autres. Anyway, quittez ça là. You understand? But I'm telling you, Madam President, to focus on the development of the Hewanorra International Airport and similar type projects.
Senator Henry, if you address your remarks to me as you should, you would not get sidetracked.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much,
you keep
Madam
saying
President.
you and pointing to the other side.
Thank you, Madam President. I am not here to be sidetracked, but of course that's what they came here to do, so I will ignore them. But Madam President, similar type projects, Hewanorra International Airport, if we're talking about major capital projects that require large sums of money, the traditional approach is not how the world is moving. We do not have the capacity to raise such finance. Some of them, the expertise and the efficiencies are not there. The private sector is where we must go. We must look for the concessionaires. You understand? And therefore, the PPP, the public-private partnership, it's not something that came up because somebody was just thinking of something wishy-washy. That's not how that came about. The World Bank advised a number of countries with challenges to take that approach in the procurement of certain services. Madame President, un pays ça là ni un chay bagay qui mérite nous pour prêter l'argent pour faire. À l'hôpital, nous obligés ni à l'hôpital, nous pas à faire ça à l'hôpital. Et si le gouvernement là te vini ici a dit qu'à prêter l'argent pour finir l'hôpital là, personne pas de pièce problème avec ça. Parce que nous ni pour finir l'hôpital là, Madame Président. Vous comprenez? Nous ni pour finir l'hôpital là. Pas vin dit, pas vin, avec l'autre vini dit qu'à prêter l'argent, Madame Président, ou ni pour montrer à ce qui raison venir quantité l'argent ça là ou même qu'à vin prêter. Parce que yo ka vez di yo vin kote yon $100 million, pièce passe à côté $100 million, qui monnaie yo kote? Est-ce que dit oui yo te ka compter que yo vin avec 100 millions? Qui ça? Qui monnaie yo vive avec 100 millions? Kote ou point limo ça là? Vous comprenez? So it's important, Madam President, that in considering capital projects of that magnitude, we need to be innovative. And some of the things that this approach brings home, and one of the issues we have in most borrowing member countries, the issue of cost overruns. Cost overruns in borrowing member countries. And I speak as a quantity surveyor, Madam President. And I will tell you, Madam President, inherent, and as cited by Dr. Love in the United Kingdom, and the many projects that I highlighted there that exceeded its budget estimate by 100% or more. The UK studied, and they said, look here, there's some procurement approach where cost determines your price. Cost determines your price. So you go to buy, you go and buy something like a soft drink, Madam President. Let's, for example, to make it simple, and you ask the person how much for the soft drink, and the person start to detail to you all of the processes, and then they said, oh well, this month I had a breakdown on my generator, and therefore the cost of the soft drink has been more. So therefore your price is based on the cost. And in our traditional procurement approach, Madam President, when the contractor signs under the FIDIC or under the various forms of contract, there are clauses for fluctuation and variations. Because that risk is really transferred to the employer, not the contractor. There are very few standard forms of agreements where the risk is totally borne by the contractor. Under the AIA, the American Institute of Architects have a standard form of contract, but it is expensive when they sign those contracts. Most of our contracts, Madam President, makes provision for fluctuation and variations that the contractor has provision. When you change your mind and certain things increases, he charges you. You understand? Fixed price contracts do have provisions for fluctuations and variations, Madam President, because in fixed price contract, if you state that the price of cement is $12 a bag, and you can show that it went up by $15 and you use 500 bags, you need to charge the employer at $2 more for the 500 bags. Look at your contracts well. In PPPs, Madam President, your price determines your cost. So then in that arrangement, when the price is given to you, the concessionaire works back because he needs to carry the project and land it at that price and not the reverse. So in risk analysis, Madam President, you are guaranteed to pay the amount that you pay upfront at the end. In this approach, there's risk involved in paying more based on the form of contract. Madam President, if in our procurement analysis we take all of these things into consideration, we will not play the politics of saying, oh, they're trying to give the airport away for 30 years. Nobody can go away with the airport. You cannot go away with the airport. You cannot go away with the airport. You understand? The airport, what is important is that the concessionaire not just operating the airport, but the concessionaire is using the capacity to pay and also to bring revenue in for the government. If a storm hits and the airport cannot operate, the concessionaire still bears that risk. If a trough comes and you cannot use the airport, the concessionaire is responsible. And Madam President, I was fortunate to do some loss adjusting, Madam President, after Hurricane Maria. And don't shout loud about insurance. because 2% deductible on the amount insured is significant. So if you have an airport and it is valued at $100 million US dollars, and you have damage and they deduct 2%, it means you need to have the 2% sitting there on the bank account to match the cost of damage. And if your damage is not more than the 2% of deductible, you get nothing. Similar to excess, when the damage on your car, my brother, and the excess is equivalent, what you get? Nothing. And that is why, Madam President, the point I made earlier on, to be resilient in this economic hard time, we need to know what we should own and what we should not. And I shared that with the member. Some of us, our homes are too big and it's underinsured. And if it's adequately insured, the deductible is too much. We do not have that on our bank accounts. You understand? The government, in designing a strong economy, must decide what the private sector can do best and what we can do.
Senator Henry, you have 15 more minutes.
I have 15 more minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Privatize your homes? Yes, it might. Well, privatization of your home is a good idea too. You could rent. That means you're renting somebody else's home. It's not yours. But the importance is not owning a home as much as having shelter guaranteed. You understand? I'm not making the point. I'm saying that sometimes it makes no sense, because you can take the loan that you build a house, 5-story residential with 6 bedrooms and all of this sort of thing, all the expensive tiles, your porcelain tiles and your marble tiles, your jacuzzi, and when the hurricane hit and it damaged, you do not have monies to repay it. So we need to be wise as we embark in making capital decisions. It should not be selfishness. And that is written in the prayer. That's always and Madam President, there need to be a way to have this prayer. I need to have a copy, you know. I don't know where I can get one. Every time the prayer is read, I reflect on the words. It tells me we need to put away selfish motives and selfish agendas, because we need to do for the better of our people. I think the PPP was a better way to proceed with the airport. I say this with sincerity of heart, and not out of political motives. I'm not supporting a side. I'm saying the PPP was less riskier for St. Lucians. I am saying, yes, I'm expressing a professional opinion. I think it was better for us. I also think there are other things that we need to borrow monies for. And if we rank priorities as to what we should borrow for and what we should not borrow for, but this is an indictment against this government, who said that they would not be borrowing. Revenue stream? My goodness, man. So, Madam President, we are here today to borrow. We are here to put this country through more debt, and unlike the explanation the member tried to share with us about it is SLASPA, you know, the resolution reads, the government is liable and is the debt charge, and all debt charges for the government is liable and shall be charged on and paid out of the consolidated fund. Il pas mentionné pièce SLASPA en résolution ça là. Debt shall be charged and paid out of the consolidated fund. You know where's the consolidated fund? That's the people's money. That's the treasury. That's where it's being paid. Pas the SLASPA. You see, one of the things, you know, it's easy to come here and try to say this thing in a way that you could sugarcoat it. It sounds nice on the airs. And then as some of you would say, it's Christmas time, Ashaimun pa même mêlé. Gouvernement ka prêté la yo tout ka prêté. That it needs to be paid back. Our children need to pay it. They need to pay it. And I'm saying, SLASPA is St. Lucian as far as I'm concerned. Tout bail, tout théolo, c'est ça gouvernement, c'est ça peuple. And I'm saying that, yes, you have the statutory organizations to run and implement services, but they are inherently government. Standing on a point of order?
On a point of order, Madam President, I believe that the member is misleading the House in saying that the debt will be paid straight from the consolidated fund. It is only if the government, the SLASPA defaults on the loan, that we look at that option. But it is not to say that the debt is going to be paid straightforward out of the consolidated fund.
Senator Henry, on my reading of it, I think the interpretation by the Honorable Minister for Health and Wellness is correct. Please proceed.
Madam President, Madam President, for further clarity on this, I rise in a point of order, Madam President. Again, the resolution,
Is
Madam
it a
President.
point of order?
Point of order.
Is busy stating 36.
Madam President, can I proceed with my time?
Madam Pardon, it's a point of elucidation. Just for clarity, Madam President, because the resolution reads clearly, it reads clearly, Madam President, that it is not the bank, it is not the government that is actually taking the loan. It is SLASPA taking the loan, Madam President, and the government is guaranteeing the loan. So SLASPA is the one responsible for the loan. But in the event that the government, if SLASPA defaults on the loan,
President,
then the government comes in. So it's a guarantee.
I'm not giving way, Madam President. I'm not giving way.
Senator Henry, you sat, and that's how you did.
No, but Madam
But
President, I was
if
waiting
you-
for your ruling, and I think it's fine.
If it's a point of elucidation, I don't have to rule. You just don't yield, and you yielded by sitting.
Thank you, Madam President.
So please proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. I certainly deserve to bring your gift. Yeah. No. Madam President has been extremely well to this House. Extremely. No, personally. And she has guided this House well. Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, but Madam President, in closing, and I'll bring this to its logical conclusion. One, there was no need for us to retread a process that was already in place, negotiated at the level of the IFC and the World Bank for a PPP conventional current approach in financing large capital projects that would negate the government from going to borrow. There was no need. Secondly, there are areas that critically need to be addressed, social areas, our hospitals, and it's an indictment on this government that the south of this island, for all the crying, have not seen it necessary to provide a better condition to treat sick people in the south of the island. They have spent more monies seeing about horses. And finally, Madam President, this side of this House, like the opposition in the lower house, will not support this resolution to borrow $100 million when they found a PPP in place that could have done the same. And Madam President, just let me make this last point and I'll sit. Madam President, this approach, the $100 million US dollars, from what I noticed, is inadequate to complete the hospital. The airport, sorry. The $100 million US dollars is not adequate to complete the airport. It's not. It will take a lot more money to complete this intervention. They have not provided the total cost of the development. What you have in the making is another St. Jude. This is another St. Jude. Because if you're going to borrow $100 million US dollars and it will not complete the project just to start it, this is what was said in the lower house. This is what was said. There is an idea that the 5 years grace will allow them to collect monies to do the other parts that this $100 million US dollars is not covering. This is what was said. You're not ready. Madam President, this is very, very critical to all of this borrowing, that the monies, it will not complete the project. They are only starting something, and they're expecting to complete it some other means. Madam President, this is madness. Sorry for the word madness, I cannot use it. But this is insane, Madam President, if the word is not appropriate. And this is recklessness. This is not professional. This is immaturity. And I think that this government, this side of the House, should be held accountable for this type of borrowing that would not see completion to the Hewanorra International Airport. Thank you.